Commodities of every kind are bought and sold daily on exchanges in New York, Chicago, as well as Toronto. And as medical and recreational marijuana laws are relaxed in Canada and the United States, our next guest is trying to bring that Wall Street model to the pot industry. For more, Steve Janjic is the CEO of American X, and he joins us now. Steve, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you very much.
Let's talk a little bit about what exactly this is. You're saying that there needs to be a Wall Street model, an exchange of sorts for marijuana. You've done this in the United States. You're bringing it to Canada. Talk to us about what exactly has happened so far in the U.S.
So we're trying to build, and what we've seen in the financial markets is a fully electronic marketplace, a centralized market where the wholesale distribution of cannabis can be sold on a fully licensed and disclosed basis.
Okay.
So what we're really looking to do is what we've seen in the regulatory agencies across the world in the financial markets is really look for transparency. What we find in this marketplace is it's very antiquated. It's very expensive to run your business. What we do is we actually...
The cannabis business.
The cannabis business.
Okay.
So what we do is we make it fully electronic, fully disclosed, and very transparent to the regulatory agencies so they can actually monitor exactly what's going on in this industry. They can really wrap their hands around this.
Steve, what though would the participants of this type of exchange be getting? I mean, if we're talking about wholesalers, why do they need an exchange to buy and sell the product that they're creating? I mean, I know you can say, well, why would you need it for corn? Why would you need it for soybeans? But how does it relate to marijuana? It's
just another commodity, and that's how we looked at it as well. When you look at the Wall Street technology and what's really needed to manage the other products that we just discussed, marijuana is very similar. It's growing at a euphoric pace, whether it be in the U.S. or in Canada. It's growing so fast. For regulatory agencies, currently they're finding a very difficult environment where they can actually try to track and monitor what's going on. It's also a very highly, a business where cash is highly used. Mm-hmm. So they're finding that there's ultimately tremendous transactions in the space, growing so fast, but they're not seeing it down to the revenue dollars. And ultimately, if you're able to put everything on an exchange, like we've seen the derivative markets across decades in finance, you're able to track every transaction from cultivation through the entire sales process. And you're saying that that is clearly an incentive for regulators to get on board with this exchange? Absolutely. Okay. It makes a lot of sense. Steve, talk to us, though, about the size of this market. You know, what are the numbers we're talking about in terms of the growth, but also the dollar value? The dollar value is tremendous. If you look at just the numbers that have been currently published for Canada, over the next 5 to 10 years, they anticipate a $1.2 billion business. We see the same numbers in the U.S. This is a multi-billion-dollar business. And the only way to track, monitor, and actually have transparency in this market is to make it fully electronic, similar to what we've done to all the derivative products across Wall Street. But let me ask you this, and it's so interesting because, Steve, you actually have a Wall Street background. You were on the foreign exchange side of the business, which is so interesting, that this is, you know, a frontier market that you're moving into. But when you talk about billions of dollars in foreign exchange or equity markets or fixed income, that's not a big business. No. So it begs the question, why do we really need this? I hear you, but does it really make sense for participants to participate in? It sure does. If you look at the $1 trillion, if you look at currencies, it's a $1 trillion a day transactional business. Right. But it's been years in the makings. And this is what you're going to find. Cannabis has just begun. If we're looking at this in the beginning stages as a multi-billion-dollar business, this will become a multi-trillion-dollar business. This is going global. Whether we want it to, we don't want it to, it has already opened up into the marketplace. I'm curious, you said that as of July, this summer, you opened up in the United States for the exchange there memberships, and then it starts trading in October, transactions in October. How many members? I know you probably won't disclose that, but what's the reception been? I could tell you it's been overwhelming. Similar to what we're seeing in the markets, there's this euphoric pace. We're seeing the same thing in our business model, which is amazing. I could tell you, if I was here a year from now discussing where my business is today, I would be excited. For it to have been created in this short period of time just shows us the drive that the market has and the need for our type of product. And just so we understand the legalities behind all of this, the people who would have signed up as members for your exchange, must they come from the states then where cannabis is legal? Well, you have to look at the market as a whole in the U.S. So in the U.S., you have roughly 24 states currently that are medicinally legal, and then several that are recreational. Okay. we can transact in every state that is medicinally legal, as well as any state that is recreational legal.
So let's bring it home to Canada. You're going to launch here in Canada January of 2015. What's the landscape look like here? What are you expecting?
It's very similar, and actually, if you look at what the governmental environment is looking at right now, is they're looking to create a central marketplace. What they're finding and what we've seen in the U.S. is this black market still exists. And the reason for that is costs are very high. When you bring an electronic venue to market, you bring costs down, and it trickles down to the consumer, which eliminates the black market. Currently, you're seeing 35 to 50% of the black market still capturing that space, all due to price.
Steve, I have one last question, which is, when you began this company, what kind of backers did you have? Did you have private equity people interested in this? Who's backing it? Without names.
Yeah, absolutely. In the beginning, we had spoken to several like privateer holdings and others in the business that are very popular in the space. What we found was that we actually went to our members, similar to what the CBOT, the CME, and others have done. They've gone to the members, and the members actually decided to buy into the exchange.
Interesting.
So our members, our first 1,000 members, actually became owners of the exchange.
Just
so
like the exchanges, like the CME, the CBO, the traders were the members of the exchanges.
Absolutely.
Interesting. Steve, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
Thank you. That was Steve Janjic. He's the CEO of American X.